Welcome after those laughs to Breakfast and Dragons, where we like to say that the characters made up, but the drama, the trauma and the drama, she's real. As we last left off, it was a very traumatic experience for the party, but before we dig into that nice, lovely thing, we got some announcements. So, Jacob, take it away.
So, as has become a standing thing with us, we find ourselves partnered and sponsored by Go Figured, which is super exciting. They are an incredible mini manufacturing company with some absolutely stunning pieces out there. Please go check them out. You can find the link in chat, and if you use code ForeverDMs at checkout, you get 10% off. So, save yourselves some money on the cool minis. I know we don't have it all quite squared away yet, but we've got some exciting stuff coming down the pipeline from Astral, and let's see. I think that's it on general announcements. Can y'all think anything I'm missing? I don't think so. No.
Other than
STC and
the crit, yeah.
Sure. So, as it stands, the next episode of Shooting the Crit will be this upcoming Tuesday, and I believe the poll for that was
running one-shots.
So, if you have any questions around running one-shots, we would love to hear them, voice them, and respond to them on stream. So, catch us Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Shooting the Crit. Should be a fun conversation.
And if you have any questions that you want our panel of GMs to answer come Tuesday, hit our Twitter. The address is in our About section on Twitch. Hit our Twitter, comment on a post, get that question out there. We'll make sure we'll answer it on the show. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it.
Jacob, I just noticed we have the Thrain overlay.
Of course you do,
on the
because I
stream.
always forget that thing. So
It's all good.
One moment. I swear. I have this checklist of everything else that I hit, and I always forget this damn overlay.
I thought this was the crossover episode.
Is that what it is? Is this the big throwdown between between the level 4s and the level 8s?
Vazila's been doing some weird shit, man. It's not out of the question.
Thrain versus Stratera. Let's do this.
we can do the battle royale.
Like-
Oh man,
We've literally been dealing with like what rips in reality in Stratera.
God,
and
talk
Vazila's
about a
been...
shot to the gut before we ever even get started. I go in here to set up like the character selection for the campaign, and Larissa is no longer listed within the campaign. And that is just a knife to the fucking heart before we ever even get going.
And I just want to say, well, before we get started, Jubei could take Oliver.
Okay, I'm DMing that one shot.
Jesus.
Not stuck inside a resilient sphere, you can't.
All right.
We'll just roll you off a cliff.
Oh, all right. Let's cry.
Okay. So, getting the laugh out of the way and showing that we are actually friends before the yelling starts.
Before we actually get going, since they just joined us, a bit of a rating party from the Dice Casters. Thanks for joining us this morning, everybody. Nice to see some new friends out here this morning. Thanks for joining us. You're just in time for us to get rolling into things.
Yes. So, as we last left off, exiting the Heretics Maze after laying the bodies to rest and closing that chapter of Hearth's past, the ward he was responsible for protecting turning out to be tortured and changed into an undead being. You were attacked by a stranger, but not a stranger to Larissa. Being onslaughted by strange creatures familiar to Hearth, but not familiar to the rest of you. Larissa was taken. The knowledge of which is only being held by Hearth and Oliver at the moment, as Ben, in a moment of panic, dimension doored himself and Killian away from the battlefield. As we take back up, Killian has just reapproached the battlefield, firing several shots towards the stranger as he flew away. And now the party stands on the edge of this cliff overlooking the ocean as the storm beats down and rain falls, and Oliver and Hearth are staring at a place where Larissa and the creature holding her no longer stands. And the moment is yours.
So correct me if I am wrong. The only people currently at location where Larissa was taken are
The only one
Hearth
that
and
witnessed
Oliver.
the only one that witnessed her flicker out of existence with this creature are Hearth and Oliver. Killian runs up just to see the stranger, because I believe Killian said that he's popping shots off at the stranger as he's flying away.
Yeah, so you probably hear that from outside the ruins. I'll be there shortly, but you guys will have a chance to react before I arrive.
Hearth,
So,
Oliver, like taking a minute to look around. Where did Ben and Killian go?
Arthur's just going to look around.
Do you know who that was?
And
What just happened?
I do not know. As Hearth looks around, seeing that Ben and Killian are not there, but hearing Killian, I don't know where the others went. The creatures that were with them, I have known them before. The winged ones. I do not know where they've taken her.
At this point, I feel like Killian comes like sprinting around the corner, like scrabbling on the gravel and stone, and then he sees you, both of you, and he's like, "Oh, you guys are okay.
What?
You scared him off.
Where did you go?
I don't know. Ben teleported us about 500 feet up the road. I don't.
Where is Ben?
He's coming. But you guys are okay. Where's
Two of us are
Larissa?
okay.
She is taken.
Gone.
But she was just right here. You guys were right there. You guys were right next to her.
The creature shifted away. Where we do not know.
What does that mean? It shifted away.
They disappeared. They went somewhere else. I do not know or understand. But
There are creatures that can shift from one place to another. This is many of them creatures of legend. I have never encountered this to this degree myself.
Killian kind of just puts his hands through his hair and then runs them down his face really slowly and just has his eyes closed. He doesn't really say anything for a second. What's
You hear
next?
a crunch of gravel at the entrance as you realize Ben is standing there now. Kind of surveying the scene with his eyes wide.
Ben, are you all right?
He looks to where Larissa was, then looks at Killian.
Just
then-
probably staring daggers back at you.
And then kind of looks at the ground and just doesn't respond.
He's gone, Ben. Do you know where she went? Do you know how to teleport us to where she went?
Let's get out of this rain. Find some shelter. Decide where we go from here. Catching our
Given-
deaths of a cold is not going to help anyone.
Given that you guys entered the dungeon in the morning, you slept the night before. You spent about a day and a half, so it's early afternoon currently, even though it's pouring down rain next to the seaside.
Killian's like pacing.
And
We're just not going to talk about this. We're just going to act like everything's fine and go find shelter and take a nap.
We need to find a moment. Think. There is more information to tell. The individual who came, I'm assuming we all saw. The individual on the parapet.
No, never met that person in my life.
Nor I. He came specifically to take her.
He seemed
informed
very
us.
much to know her. And she him.
He informed us that his employers sent him. Take her out of the picture for a little while. I still do not understand completely, but she voluntarily went with him
She told us to
to
go.
save us.
She said to stop.
Doesn't seem voluntary to me. Not the way this went down.
To protect us, it was. I'm sure she would rather be standing here with us, all things considered.
Oliver walks over to Killian and kind of puts a big hand on his shoulder. Just,
I honestly probably immediately just like push you away.
we will find her.
I didn't ask her to do that. I didn't.
It was her choice.
It's not her choice to make. We would have fought for her.
We did. And we still will. But all of our actions are our own to make, to choose. This was hers. We should try to understand why.
You hear another crunch of gravel and look over and see Ben is seated on the ground now, just in a puddle at this point. And Tannen is sitting there, like very regal, noble cat prince kind of pose, and they're just locked with eyes with each other.
At this point, the storm is letting up some, but you guys are drenched.
If there is anything you know to look now that will make a difference, we should do so. But if not, sitting in this rain is doing nothing.
Rain just cascades down Hearth's metal body. This doesn't even register what would probably be discomfort for organic creatures, and let us find a place to talk. And begins to trudge off. Going to be looking for any place where there's an outcrop where we can get some shelter from the rain, or a lean-to or a patch of trees that might be a little bit less exposed to the elements.
Towards the edge of the entryway to the ruins of Broken Gate, you do find the remnants of a guardhouse. But when I say remnants, it's a single wall, but the wall and the arch is wide enough for you to seek some shelter from the rain.
I'm going to beckon the others and motion towards the arch, and I will continue to stand out in the rain.
What is Ben?
Pardon?
What is Ben doing?
He's still sitting there. At this point, he's kind of looking down away from Tannen, and Tannen's walking towards you all.
Get up, Ben.
Oliver will
Get up. We don't have time for your brokenness right now. We got more things to deal with.
Responsive.
Oliver will walk over and extend a hand down to Tannen to like offer for Tannen to pop up on his shoulder if he wants to,
He does.
and then he'll continue.
Tannen's drenched. Like,
Oliver doesn't
wet
care.
hat.
Oliver will continue on over to Ben and kind of squat down in front of him and just hold a hand out. Come on, friend. We will figure this out one way or another. But we're going to need your help to do it.
Probably not accepting the hand, but he will rise. And if you turn to walk, he will follow you.
Oliver just gives a nod and heads over to where Hearth had gestured.
There's a kind of an interesting juxtaposition if you take a second to look at Ben. Like, you know, his eyes are gold, and you know, he wears these reds and golds, and almost like this regal Arabian prince kind of Lawrence of Arabia kind of vibe. And he is like looking down, soaked from head to toe, just shuffling behind Oliver.
Eventually, all of you make it underneath the arch.
Hearth, you said there was more. What do you know?
The past cycles and repeats. Sit for a moment. I would like to share with you a bit of my story. my last moments of remembrance of the empire from which I emerged was plummeting from the sky in an airship. And what brought me there, what brought me to this place, was the desire to hold together strained members of the empire. It is not easy for me to speak of it. There is great pain. But I think the more we can share our worlds, the better we might be able to understand what is occurring right now. We were on a mission to parley with the Tanweer. We have just gone through one of their places of worship. They are familiar to us now. They were not familiar to us then. When we set out, it was a band of protectors of the individual I stopped. We just laid to rest. She was our charge, Aisha al-Qadi. She was sent to judge and arrange adjudication and mediation of the disputes here on this isle. Our band was to protect her. And on the way, all the weakened parts of the empire began to show themselves in us. We had...
When you say wicked parts of the empire, Ben flinches as if you hit him.
As Ben flinches, Art says, I know this is difficult for you to hear, Ben. But even the wicked parts of the empire, I do not speak of simply the Tanweer. I speak of their silent supporters. We did have false friends in our midst. The false Illustrial, that name I remember. Some remained true. They are now dead, or standing before you. Praise be to the Everlight, that it be so. There was another, which represented many of the people of our empire that I think stood for a more sizable chunk than we could have ever realized. I do not like to speak their names. I wish they could be faded to history and memory and die with me when I go, but I speak them here to acknowledge what was and is. There was a Turan of an ancient house
There's a
who abandoned us.
to Ben's head as if, like, acknowledging that name.
Who abandoned us when the time came. When the time came to stand against creatures exactly the which we saw today. He revealed his support by fading away. Fading away like the image and presence of his ancestral blade. Leaving myself and Aisha Al-Khat alone to decide which of us would live and which would die. And now we stand here, having put her to rest, standing in the remains of what once was the largest empire on this world. The creatures are the same. And there is some shared elements of the story that I think, unless we come to speak of and reconcile, our purpose may never be found. That is what I have to convey. I think it just leads me to the question: why do we find ourselves here? And where do we wish to go? And Hearth turns more towards the sea, watching the rain on the coast.
Killian's leaning against the wall, arms crossed, probably there's like radiating anger. What's Oliver doing?
He's probably squatted down kind of in the middle. His hand resting on the bag of bones at his waist. Kind of looking back up at Hearth. Purpose is often difficult to clearly understand.
We save
As you
our
say
friend.
that,
Go ahead.
purpose is often difficult right after that moment. As they'll say, intention then.
I don't know what's difficult about this situation. We save our friend. That's our purpose. That's our intent.
Of course. If we can find her, we do. But it does not change that leaving to protect us Was her choice. I am not saying we abandoned her.
She consulted you on that choice.
No,
You were okay with that?
She consulted herself.
Yeah. I've got a problem with that.
You
I don't
have a,
understand why you don't.
you have a problem with her making her own choices?
I have a problem with her choosing to run away from us, taking that choice out of our hands.
We choose to protect each other a lot recently. I think this is what she did for us. Best we understand what and why. Those were no simple foes we faced. They took her. There is much more happening here that we do not yet understand.
When you say those were no simple foes, Ben looks up at Killian and then his eyes go back to the ground.
I believe very strongly that we are here for a reason. All of us. Larissa as well. That does not mean I fully understand that reason just yet.
Right about now, and this is more directed at the DM than the rest of the party. Ben is going to connect telepathically with Tannen beyond the usual familiar basic emotion connection and form a full telepathic bond if he can.
If you're trying to dip into his Dreamlands personality,
I know he's just a cat right now.
yeah, he's just a cat. He has chosen to leave that behind.
I
Now,
need you.
What were you saying?
I need you to go back.
He kind of perks his head, very cat-like, on Oliver's shoulder.
Can you find Ahab?
Well,
Can you find Arcanist?
he starts cleaning himself from the rain. Currently, with him being a familiar, if you want him to, you're gonna have to break the familial bond.
But I don't know what'll happen when I do that.
He'll be his normal self.
Just fades off.
Killian. Our adversary told us that his employers were quite fond of the work we have been doing, that they would contact us as the events on the island unfold. Somehow. For all of us. I think that means to continue the course that was only begun here. Motions back to the Shadow Tower.
Oliver kind of looks up at Killian. The one that took her. He mentioned that although he wanted to, he was not allowed to kill her. Just take her. This is more that I don't know what that means. But I do know it means we have a chance to find her. But I don't know how. Or if we can. But she is not dead. He kind of looks back over towards Ben. There is always hope.
It's gonna turn around and look at Ben. Ben. Is Ben looking back?
No. He's pulled out his pipe and he's absently trying to pack it, and his hands are tremoring.
Her last words went to you, Ben. Something she wanted you to do. Is there a physical response?
There's a pause.
Her words were, tell Ben to read the book. Help us. What does that mean?
There's a kind of an absent, kind of understated shrug.
What book is she speaking of?
At this point, he legitimately doesn't know. And there's just and as distant and indirect as he's being, there's a genuine confusion.
Did she drop something? Leave something? Something we don't know about?
And looks over towards where she disappeared. and walks off towards it, starts looking around.
Roll a roll an intelligence check for Ben.
Big player knows. Character hasn't looked in it, so he doesn't know.
No, that's what they're gonna say. And roll an intelligence check for Ben.
Alright. Yeah, natural 20. Here we go.
Okay. So,
Nice.
looking around in the rain at this spot, you do see signs in the gravel and the dirt, and now mud. The footprints and the signs of struggle being washed away with this rain that's pouring down. Find nothing left behind, but you do remember before you left the Heretic's Maze, her handing you a bag and you placing it within your trunk.
Yeah, it's would Ben make the connection that that's a book right now in the state he's in.
A natural 20, maybe.
Fair. From like silhouetted behind him, you see a bit of a flare in front of him, and he turns around and he finally managed to get his pipe lit and starts walking back over towards the group.
While this is going on, while Ben's out in the rain, what's everyone else doing?
Brooding.
Sexy brooding, but brooding.
Yes, yes.
Obviously.
As Ben walks off and there's a moment of indecision and uncertainty around everything, Oliver will proffer the bag of bones and give them a roll. He doesn't really know what he's looking for, just anything that he feels like, any kind of guidance that he feels like he could garnish from his ancestors.
Roll a d100.
$45.
As you're familiar with rolling these bones, that the messages from your ancestors comes more of instinct and feeling or intuition. When you roll these bones, you get the feeling you're familiar with of being on a hunt, hunting your prey, chasing a deer, missing a shot just to have the prey run off, the disappointment, the sadness, but the knowing that the hunt is not over. You can still catch it if you run.
Watching Oliver do this, Killian's like head like jerks in like realization, and he grabs his medallion and starts muttering under his breath. Basically, Bill, I'm talking to Abraxas, and I want to say, you want to be free, right? Tell me, is there anything you can tell me about what just happened? Those creatures, that man. Is any of this tied to you? And I'm happy to make whatever kind of roll you need me to make for that. I'm
Is that loud?
not expecting it.
Is that loud enough for other people to hear?
I'm not trying to be like particularly quiet about it. So yeah, I mean, if Hearth is not paying, or if Hearth is paying any type of attention to me, he would hear me.
Hearth is paying attention.
Gonna need 2 rolls from you, Killian, and the second
Fine.
one's dependent upon how the first one goes. Roll me a
Okay.
persuasion.
Oh, okay, sure. I do those. Okay, so that's a 21.
Okay. Now roll me a percentile.
Uh, 13. I don't know if that's good or bad.
You talking to Abraxas, as you have done many times before when you first felt it, it's not an audible voice, it's a voice that you feel that echoes in your head. The celestial being that's bound to this ancient Arcadian coin you wear around your neck, or you carry with you. Because I forgot you do carry it, kind of like my little good luck charm. So feeling this presence in your mind, you hear the creatures are not of this world. They are older. I do not know the stranger, but the energy that surrounds him is familiar. Similar to the energy that imprisoned me here.
Is this a conversation, or is that like? Can I tell that that's like the end of it? That's all I'm gonna get.
That's pretty much all you're gonna get.
Okay. Okay. Great.
Is that just a telepathic link?
It's
I spoke out loud, but his half
it.
you probably don't hear.
Right. That's all I'm asking. Yeah. Okay.
No.
Very, very quietly. Spoken kind of almost under his breath, but definitely loud enough to hear. Beckett, Jesus. Ben.
Not
Ben says his name is Thomas Beckett.
Arth definitely looks around and through the arch. Thomas Beckett. Why did he want Larissa, Ben?
Just a shrug and a nod of no. Because she didn't actually tell Ben that particular detail. I just knew that they quarreled and that he almost killed her.
Now all of you know the name when he says Thomas Beckett, because
Right.
Larissa said
said.
that name
Mhm.
when the sword was found and the body was found in Kingsport.
She also said when we were all still there and the Shambler jumped out, she said, "I know you're here, Beckett."
Well, he told us his name as well for me and Oliver, just as a reminder. That was a
So, what do you know about him? You've met. Why did they fight? Why does he want her dead? Anything?
There's just a nod of no.
Bill, what time of day is it right now?
Hard to tell with the storm clouds, but it's getting about with the you guys roaming around the ruins and the rain and the sexy brooding. You have it's still mid afternoon.
Oliver, there's a moment where your shoulders suddenly get really light and you realize Tannen's not there anymore. And Ben has pointed down at the ground and Tannen has appeared. And he starts muttering something under his breath. And with a little indulgence from the GM, if I could have a Arcana check from Killian.
Bill?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Are you trying to see if he determines what you're about to do?
Yeah.
That is a 24.
He is uttering the summon familiar enchantment backwards.
So
What?
are you breaking your familial bond with Tannen?
Yes.
Okay.
Do I understand what's happening?
Yes.
Okay.
He's basically releasing Tannen.
Gonna take a couple of minutes. Do I get any feedback from Tannen while this is happening?
Other than the curiosity of a kitten, of a cat, very curious as what you're doing, following what your command. Once the spell is broken, at this time, Tannen is now mine.
I'm super
I'm
fucking heartbroken right now.
No,
about
I'm gonna stop it. I'm just trying to see how.
Oliver doesn't really understand what is going on. but
Yeah. So
has
so
pulled out his
Oliver,
own
you'll see.
pipe
Oliver,
and
you'll see
is-
me react. You'll see me be like, "No, Ben, whoa, stop, stop." So you'll know something bad is happening.
So you don't cast the spell magic or nothing, right, Killian?
Not yet. I'm just kind of trying to interrupt him.
it's
Do
gonna
you-
take me 10 minutes, so
Do you stop?
I may hesitate, but no.
Okay.
Ben,
So I'll,
He's breaking his bond. He's sending Tannen away for good.
Ben. w- Wait, just why? What are you doing? Speak with us, Ben.
Everything comes down to a die roll, right?
I cast message in Ben's head, and I'm chanting gibberish into your mind. So whatever you just rolled, roll a disadvantage.
what? Hold on. What were you rolling, Gabe?
A decision roll,
Okay.
not a skill or anything.
Well, let me do it this way. If Killian's going to do that, are you going to continue with the ritual?
So I rolled to see if Ben could keep concentrating with what Oliver said.
Well, that's what I'm getting to. Yes or no? Are you continuing with the ritual?
No.
Okay.
I rolled a 1.
Basically, what was going to happen is if you were continuing with the ritual, I was going to have you roll a concentration check to see if you could continue.
That was basically what I did, kind of
Yeah.
for internal decisions, and I rolled a 1. So,
Okay.
so the incantation slowly stutters and stops, and this like line of greenish energy you started to see form, beginning an arc around Tannen ended, just vanishes. And not to Oliver, to Killian, actually telepathically, you hear he can help us.
Why are you sending him away?
He is not the same as Nyx. He is more.
Right, your familiar's better than my familiar, Ben. I don't understand what that means.
And then speaking out loud, Tannen is the cat of the Dreamlands. He is a sorcerer. Very impulsive sorcerer, but he can travel freely in ways we cannot. I'm going to ask him to do so, but I cannot do it when he is bound to me. He chose to be here. He chose to travel with me like this because some of our other journeys did not go well. But if I release him, he can return to the Dreamlands and seek out an ally that we may need to find her. That's the first time he's like vocally acknowledged the fact that Larissa is gone, and he chokes on it.
Oliver kind of glances up at Killian, then back to Ben. Thank you for helping us understand your choices.
With that, he kind of looks up at Killian again and looks down.
You dissolve this bond, what's it going to do to you?
A heart can't break twice in one day.
Oh, God, my heart. Ow. I didn't like that. Whew.
Ah, feelings.
What about him?
He will talk a lot. Sometimes more than is polite.
I'm not asking you to tell me about Tannen, Ben. I'm asking if he's going to be okay.
He will be mortal.
Is that a choice that you're making for him?
Oh man, patterns.
If he chooses, could you make the bond again? If he does not want this?
Theoretically. But I don't know if it's ever been done.
Ben, look, we're in the dark here. I don't know what a Dreamlands cat is, and I kind of like look at Hearth and Oliver. Like, I'm pretty sure they don't either. We don't know the implications of this choice that you're making. I just know how much tannin means to you.
And can we get away from this place?
I think that would be
Gladly.
good.
Where is the party gonna head next? Which direction?
So remind me, we're on the western part of the island right now.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of
And-
forest between us and back to civilization.
There's
And-
two ways. There's two ways to get to Kingsport from here. You can travel along the coast or back through the forest.
Okay.
North was
And-
how we came here, if I remember.
The forest was how you came here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the coast
And,
would
uh,
take longer because we'd have to go like down and around, right?
No. It's if you remember, the island is kind of crescent moon shaped.
Okay.
You could take the coast back up to Kingsport around the bay, the Rainbow Bay, or you can go through the forest. Basically, the forest is more populated.
We know the forest is not without its dangers.
Didn't you have a handout for the map, Bill?
I don't know what happened to it. I have no earthly idea what happened to it, but yeah, it used to be there.
I
Yeah.
have some super basic sketches of it around here somewhere. I think
It's not that big a deal. I just
Like I can't even find my file in my computer, so I don't know. I'm gonna have to
Weird.
make a whole new one.
all right. That's fine.
I mean, Hart would suggest making our way back to Father Waters.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good.
Aid
fine.
him.
So just as a reminder for like lore that we picked up the past couple sessions, there are two more. What's it called? Gates here.
From what you can tell, the circle that you guys saw within the Heretics maze or the Heretics tomb wasn't complete, but it was functioning, which hints the fact that it's connected to something else nearby. The entity that spoke to you in the tomb called it an anchor and said you'd already destroyed one, you will not destroy another. As the number of anchors that exist, you're not sure.
Okay, so we know there is another anchor
we did.
here on the island.
If I remember correctly, we did see like other tendrils of energy at other places on the island in that vision.
But
right?
you're not 100% sure what those were.
Okay, but that's where I got the number two,
Yeah.
I think.
We,
Okay.
We saw a gloom over Kingsport, a gloom over the mountain, and a gloom over the northern side of the island, but we don't
Yes.
know.
Right.
Northeastern.
Okay.
The shadowy tendrils stretching down onto the island, one wrapping around the mountain, one over in northeastern, and one over Kingsport.
Okay.
We do know that Father Waters communicated via sending, because Ben did share this.
That people are acting weird.
Yeah, that something's happening in Kingsport.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Then I think Port's a good next step. Then.
Okay, so are you traveling via the coast or are you traveling via the forest?
I think we go with the forest. Oh, where did our dragon friend go?
I
By
was
the way.
literally thinking the same thing. I was just I was waiting until the end of this conversation before we left to bring it up.
Roll me a perception check.
I do not perceive things very well.
If you don't mind, since this was also on my mind, I would like to roll one as well for Oliver. So that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Everyone that's curious about where the dragon is.
It's a strong 3 for me.
That would be a 23 for Oliver.
So as Killian's like looking out in the rain, you see Oliver. You look off in the distance and you see a tree, a little ways off. But you see a winged creature kind of sitting out of the rain, looking at you guys. How long it's been there, you're not sure, but he's been watching.
Interesting that one is still around. Huh. He kind of points over to where the dragon's perched.
It's not that interesting. He wants our gold. Simple as that. So, Kingsport,
I am, even though it is a bit of a scoundrel, I'm glad to see familiar faces again.
Larissa seemed pretty fond of him.
As we're traveling along, Hearth has Hearth has some things on their mind. So this kind of conversation as we're walking.
So, was that party consensus that you guys are going to take the forest?
Sure. Yeah.
I think so. I think, well, so it's the same distance, right? It's not going to take any longer, really?
It's basically going to be different encounters.
Okay, that's fine. So, and we know that we've got potential allies in the forest. That was my reasoning. Is that okay with everybody?
Sure.
Okay.
Oliver is on board with party agreement at this point rather than arguing other factors. So
as you exit the ruins of Broken Gate, the rain eventually starts to subside. You travel for a couple of hours, entering into the familial forest area of Providence Islands, which Bill gets to send you guys to the new travel maps that he's created.
Yay! Along the way, Ben's been kind of like, well, you know, the emoting that he's thinking and processing information. And occasionally you'll see, like, he's smoking his pipe. Occasionally you'll see his pipe, like, almost like he's writing on a chalkboard kind of thing. And I think if Tannen doesn't want to go, then I can rebond him. If that is what, and he looks towards Killian but not locking eyes, if that is what he wants.
I think as long as you can still honor his choice, if that is what Tannen wants, then it is worth speaking with him. If he can help.
So, on that note, we're going to take a little bit of an early break because we've had a request for a bathroom break. So we will be back with more of this drama in a few minutes.
tense morning. God.
Yep.
Woohoo!
Whew, I need more coffee for this, guys. Oh, man. All right. Well, in that case, thanks for joining us so far this morning, folks, and we will be back in just a couple minutes. And we are back.
Yay!
Enough bad jokes off stream.
I have more coffee for processing this bullshit that we are dealing with this morning. Cheers to that.
See you on
All right, let's play a game we'll be talking to our therapist about later this week. So,
Wait, you guys see therapists? This is my therapy.
This is it.
Right?
We get to dissociate into different personalities and explore each aspect on their own time and place and in a compartmentalized way. It's great.
Brandon, one of my characters has 3 personalities, so
that is true.
You get to work through all of them, you know?
Okay, so as we last left off, the party was traveling through the woods towards Kingsport, taking a rest, planning to take a rest for the evening.
So as we head off
Well,
into the
at this
forest, Oliver is going to kind of like head towards where the dragon is.
Okay.
And he'll pull out one of the little nuggets of gold that he's had in his pouch for however freaking long. And he will hold it up and be pinching it really freaking tight. But holding it up like towards the dragon to try and see if it comes along.
So as you guys have been traveling, it's followed you.
Okay, then at some point on the road, if it has continued to follow us, then at some point on the road, like he will attempt this to see what it does.
Well, it does. Once you hold it up, and you hold it up for a while, eventually he does come in and try to swoop and grab it.
Oliver does not let go and sees if he
Okay.
like will stop and like try and get at it.
Okay, since you're pinching it,
I mean, I
we're gonna.
have a base 20 strength, so
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Since you're pinching it, we're actually gonna do a dexterity check.
okay.
Just because I think it would be funny.
Test your fine motor skills.
I would like to give him my inspiration so he can roll with advantage.
Well, I believe I get advantage on this anyway, as just a barbarian, right?
Danger sense.
Oh, that's just saving throws.
feel-
That's just saving throws. All right.
I throw my ring of evasion here.
All right. So, dexterity check then. So, am I rolling with advantage or no?
I mean, if Bill will allow it, I'm gonna give it to you.
Here.
Alright, clicking that off.
What'd you roll?
A 2 and a 3 on the die. So, total of 5.
I love
So
when a plan comes together.
Yeah. That's exactly what just happened.
comes in and swoops, and it grabs a hold of the nugget, but because your strength totally outweighs the damn dragon, it is kind of holding on like a cat holding onto a ball.
Right, so that was the intent. Like I was not trying to like pull it away from him. I was holding it up with the intent of him coming in and getting it, but then just not letting go of this thing. So as it's just like trying to like pull and claw at the thing, Oliver just kind of like pulls it down and just kind of looks at him.
He'll gnaw on the chunk of gold for a little bit, and you know, gold being a soft metal, it does like adhere to his teeth some. But after he realizes you're not letting it go, and after tugging on it a little bit like Scrat with a nut, he will eventually let go, and unless you grab him.
No, it would be more like I'm not trying to like force him there. It would be more of attempting some kind of like animal handling.
Okay, give me an animal handling check then. See if you can calm him down.
13? It was almost a nat 20. It was so close to a nat 20.
Yes, Tiffers, I just made a Ice Age reference.
I thought that's what that was.
So yeah, 13.
Okay. You do. What are you trying to do?
So
Like,
I guess like as he's like carrying on at it, he would just kind of like be talking to it, and being like, "Our friend liked you. She wanted you to come with her.
You are welcome to do so. And he's just like speaking to it, which technically, I guess, I don't know. If this thing is not technically an animal, I don't know that it happens, but I do, like, animals innately understand Oliver's speech as a
Yeah.
Furbolg. So,
You can talk to animals, but you don't necessarily understand
I
them,
know,
right?
I don't understand them back. It's just they understand me.
So it cranes its neck and kind of loops it and turns around and looks at you. I need to get a hand puppet for this dragon. It kind of looks at you, and you sense this. Roll me an insight check.
That's decidedly better. That is a 21.
You sense this recognition that he understands what you're saying. Not just your words, but your emotions behind it.
Okay.
Like,
If I get the gist that, like, I feel like he understands, then I will let go of the gold piece, like the piece of gold, and let him take it.
So when you do, he kind of hovers with his wings looking at you with his two front paws holding this piece of gold, and he flops off about 10 feet away and lands in a tree. And he's just kind of gnawing at the gold.
Well, that went well. And like Oliver legitimately like has a little bit of a smile on his face and continues on.
Okay. So, traveling in this forest for some time, you eventually do come to a place of rest. And you bed down for the evening for the sake of brevity. What is everyone trying to accomplish as you're resting?
So, well, as we're resting, or along the journey at some point, Hearth sees Ben thinking, and also kind of speaks up when he has a moment, possibly when Oliver goes off to do the interaction with the pseudo dragon. Hearth says to the company that is present, the two of you noticed a weakening of the arcane energies when we put Aisha to rest. Is this true?
Yes.
It was easier to access magic in that temple. What I felt was a return to how it's always been.
Larissa mentioned, and at mention of Larissa, there's a pregnant pause. Mentioned magic had to be sought through conduits, through items still infused with a connection to the weave. Such as
Stands to reason that if we were to solve these other anchors as motioning, well, if it's dark, it's not going to work, but indicating or acknowledging the shadows on the island. If we were to weaken these other points, possibly the weave that you speak of would be weakened.
I don't know how to explain it. Your connection to magics comes from a source, a source of divine energy, so to say. That is still energy. It has to come from somewhere. There is a weave of magic and it is immediately noticeable that as Ben is talking, there's a familiarity and a comfort there of teaching. You've seen it with him, and actually, you would not have, but Killian, you have seen this before with the way he immediately connected to you in the beginning. That like there's a confidence there that has been lacking this day, this like 3 days, as he starts explaining magic and the weave of energy that functions around the world, and how, you know, arcane items are infused with a bit of that weave, and how divine magics function similarly. You still draw from the same power, even though your conduit is different. And he goes into this big meta magic, like almost philosophical perspective of how magic works.
Right. And as that's happening, you know, it gets to a length. Thank you for helping me to understand, Ben. These anchor points may weaken this weave, is the question. If we were to stop them or destroy them.
I do not know. The door...
Is it a possibility?
The door... Yes. Yes. The door we closed shut off the magic that was coming in from the Shadowfell, but I do not know what these other doors are, or what they will do.
Beckett spoke of his employers being fans of what we were doing. Who would stand to gain by the weakening of this weave?
Or who would stand to gain by the shutting down of anchoring of dark magic, the whole world? I do not think that is a narrow enough.
How do you know it's all dark magic? What if we're closing the gates to magic for good? All magic. That sounds like the work of the church.
I don't have any experience with this, Killian.
You have an experience with it. That's how we met. You were thrown into a jail cell.
And he tries to refocus and just stutters.
Thank you both. My point being to try and understand who we may be being observed by, who may be wishing for our work to succeed, and as a result, who may have Larissa.
The question is, who could possibly see what we do? You mentioned Larissa was being scryed upon. Or Oliver mentioned. It is difficult to see who could be doing that. And as we're sitting inside Ben's dome, he summons the chest, which appears and opens on its own, and floating out of it is a bag. Larissa gave me this to keep safe. And he reaches into it and just starts pulling shit out.
Well, hold on. What do you reach in and think of first? Because Ben would not be aware of what's in the bag of holding.
Let's turn that bitch inside out.
Yeah, you can do
No.
that too.
I'm kidding. It's up to you.
Ben reaches in, doesn't know what to think of, and flips the whole fucking thing upside down.
Okay, so everything that Larissa had in that bag
I have a list.
is now empties out into the floor of this forest within Ben's dome. So what empties out?
Out tumbles 2 potions, 2 flintlock pistols, a book on, well, 1 book, a short bow, a crossbow that looks non-functioning, 2 full medical kits, a tinker tools set, 1, 2, 3, 4 daggers of varying shapes and make.
So many daggers.
A vial of question mark.
It's just a rogue's. It's just a rogue's pockets at this point.
That's exactly what this is. And 1, 2, 3, 4, so 5 books in total.
A hoarder rogue.
Yeah.
And remembering the conversations from earlier, Ben immediately picks up the book and goes, no, no, no. And then
Killian, the crossbow hits you as familiar. It's a broken crossbow, but it is from the church. It is branded with the symbol of the Church Eternal.
Interesting.
is this the one that I remember from my other character, or
I can't remember where it is because I remember it's marked in the bag as Church Eternal.
yeah?
I think she's had it in that bag since we first started the game at level 1.
Fair enough. And so going through the stack of 5 books, no, 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 no. And he stops and he picks up a very simple book.
With like pages.
Yeah, that looks like an anarchist cookbook. Like, I'll flip it up into a random page and I'll unfold like 3 pieces of paper that are tacked to it, and another one that's just like leafed in there, and a scratch sheet of paper that's just tucked in there somehow.
Oh, we're gonna treat her journal like it's a tome. So you're gonna tell me what you want to research when you're reading it, and we're gonna roll for it.
The Conspiracy Theorist's Journal.
So, on that note, Ben looks at it. She's insane. And he closes it all back up, closes the book.
What is this shit in here about the moon landing not being real?
The Terra's flat.
What? Who shot JFK? Who's JFK? I think this is going to take some time.
I keep.
The rest
What
of it,
is a chemtrail?
a pizza parlor in New York? What? The rest of it, taking a little nip off the 2 potions. There's a potion of invulnerability and a potion of climbing.
I'm being headbutted by a cat.
2 flintlock pistols. Ben just puts those in the chest with the other 2 he already has for reasons. The short bow has small little etchings along it. The daggers all have small little etchings along them. And 3 of the books, Killian and Oliver will actually recognize. They're from the sanatorium.
One of the books, if I'm remembering correctly, is one of them is called The High Art, the Practice of Magic.
No, that's not in her bag of holding.
Okay.
She has the sanitarium notes on people, on inmates, promissory notes with signature from Mirkwood. Super useful for shady folk. Basically, somebody's blank checkbook, and the ledger, the supplies ledger from Mirkwood.
Okay.
And then her journal, up to a certain point in her story. So yeah. Uh, very, very timidly, uh, Ben sets the daggers and the bow out, kind of in a line, and looks towards, but not eye contact with Killian, and says under his breath, "Will you help me?" Yes, no.
I said, with what?
These items have some sort of. Okay, I'll take care of it. Um, and
Ben, I'm not gonna hit you if you make eye contact with me. What? Just talk to me. What do you need me to do?
these items have some sort of enchantment on them. We can discover what she was carrying.
Well, you let me take care of this, and you take a look at that book.
Okay.
I'll go take the items and sit cross-legged, them in my lap, basically. I'll cast. So, however long Ben is reading the book, I'll cast Identify. So, 30 minutes is what I need.
Okay, so you're identifying Ben.
Sorry,
What are you doing?
33 minutes specifically.
There are actually a few. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items total.
Oh shit. Okay. Well,
Then-
66 minutes.
Then basically, you guys already know what they are because they're identified in Larissa's bag. This is just flavor. So
Okay.
you're going to identify these items over the course of this long rest.
Right.
I don't know what the black onyx dagger is mechanically, so
One, it's just a dagger made out of black onyx. One's a dagger +1. There's 2 keen daggers, a sword bow +1, and a dagger that does thunder damage. Is what it should be. What are you researching in the book? Are you researching the book?
yes. I'm gonna look for 2 names and nothing else right now. I'm gonna look for the name Thomas Beckett, and I'm gonna look for Abda Al Halim.
Okay. Thomas Beckett first. Roll me an investigation check versus the book's DC.
Natural 20.
Nice.
So you find
I rolled
several
20s and 1s today, so that'll balance out.
you find several entries about a character named Thomas Beckett, and you actually find footnotes, like from the beginning of her story. She tells a story about how her and the first group that you guys now know she was with met in a place in Loss called the Valley of Fire. This community filled with forges, very mineral-rich valley that these towns are built up around mining camps. This ancient valley that's been fought over several times because of the amount of resources that's built from it. One town's known for their armor, their weapons, even to like pottery and everything like that. Anything that's produced by this town, they happen to show up for a festival. The party encountered a Church Eternal scout squad, and Larissa killed a scout. One of which got away. One member of the squad got away. The footnote states this turns out to be Thomas Beckett. and she makes mention that the scout that she killed was his lover, another male member of the Church Eternal. Many, many months later, the name Thomas Beckett comes up again when they encountered a character during a Vistani camp where they were investigating how to reconnect themselves with magic, the entire party. This person traveled with them for many, many days. They delved into a dungeon or into an Arcadian ruin that that was being investigated by New Arcadia. The New Arcadia Expedition Group was already down there. The location was called the Arcane Grave, that was titled by the Arcadian Research Group. The New Arcadian Research Group had been wiped out by some entity that resided within the ruin. Investigating further, they released a Arcadian Magister who was in the details are fuzzy. His brain was held inside a jar, and upon his instructions, the brain was released and laid upon a magical glyph that reconstructed his body. Upon his reconstruction, he exited the ruins, giving them clues as to what the entity was being held within the ruins, and his whereabouts now are unknown, and that's Abhal Elim. The person that she turns out to learn was Beckett, the one that traveled with her, as they exited the ruins, turned on her and killed her. When she awoke, one of her party members had made a deal with one of the hags of the bog, from which the ruins were located, for her to be returned to life. The deal was they gave Beckett to the hag in exchange for this deal, or for her to be brought back to life, and that's the last mention of Beckett in the book.
I am reading this aloud.
That's what you get with a natural 20.
That's some stuff.
So character information finally caught up with player information.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's the background on Beckett and Larissa. Larissa killed his lover. Beckett sought revenge after her and killed her. But when she was returned to life, he was traded to a hag to bring her back.
And we get that lore, like in Discord later.
Yeah, I'll type
Great.
it up for you.
Cool. And then just managerial stuff. Did you add all that stuff to your inventory, Gabe, or?
It is all in my notes. We can divide it up as necessary, but I do have track of it all.
Okay, that's fine. I didn't write it down, so I just want to make sure somebody had that.
And basically, because it was kind of tied in with Beckett, I would have naturally had you roll an investigation on the other name, but literally that's all she has on that name.
Yeah, she told me that she had met a magister, and
Yeah.
that was his name. Yeah.
Okay, that was a lot.
Yes, it was. And there's just to lean into the natural 20, there, like, you see a little bit of the scholar Ben coming out, like the speed reading, pulling a word here, word here, word here, and giving you a concise summary from like 4 pages. And
Cool.
Well, it at least certainly explains why this Beckett wished her dead.
Didn't say anything about who he was working for. These were his own choices.
he was taken by a hag of some sort. There could be a connection with the hag here on the island, but
That
Wait.
was what I was wondering as well, but this was
Was he
somewhere
not
else, yes? This
Was he not originally a scout for the Church Eternal?
There is
what
that too.
I'm sorry.
Was there not an account of his lover being slain? Were they not members of the Church Eternal at that point?
From what it says here, they were, and then he abandoned it in his own quest. I don't know much about the church or how they work.
Hearth, roll me a intelligence check to see if you remember details on what Beckett said last episode.
All right, I'm going to use my inspiration because much better. 18 flat roll.
Nice.
One thing, because you were the one that was addressing Beckett, he made mention that when he referred to the person he worked for, them buying his contract.
Hmm. So probably not working for the hag anymore.
He spoke of someone buying his contract, his current employers.
This reeks of the Church Eternal. I'm telling you.
That could be. Or
I
someone
know that-
else that took him from the hag. But it certainly could be.
Killian, what is the purpose of the Church Eternal? What is their mission?
Wipe out magic everywhere? It beats me, Hearth. I've been dealing with them all my life, and I don't know what their true purpose is. I just know that they make magic users like me disappear. That's why I've hid it my entire life.
Hey, if
My experience.
if I may, just a moment on that. I do not know the church itself, but I know they play with things that should not be touched. It is why I left the north. To find what they were doing and try and prevent the war that it would cause.
Sounds like the church to me.
While this conversation is happening, Ben's eyes glaze over for just a moment, and his consciousness expands, and he sends his psyche outward. And in his mind, it's almost like a phoenix of etheric energy that's invisible that just scours across the landscape as he casts sending. And the Magister Abel Halim is known to me. I do not know if they are on the same plane of existence. I do not know if they're still alive, but I am going to try to cast sending to them.
I think the plane thing only matters. Well, it's like a 95% chance that the message goes through on a different plane.
But the message states, Magister Al-Halim, apologies for the intrusion. This is in Arcadian. I am Ben-Yahim Kalem, Arcanus of Dalandun. I was trapped in the Dreamlands and recently returned. I petition for your aid. That's it.
And as that's occurring, this conversation that's still happening between us, it is my experience that those who seek to eradicate power only seek to eradicate others from using that power. I have a suspicion. I do not know much about this church, but I would doubt.
Larissa mentioned
I would
one
doubt
time-
that they are.
And Ben is like interjecting
Yeah.
after his whatever happens with that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Larissa did say when we were in the sanatorium, and he kind of looks generally towards Oliver and Killian, that magic users were taken and changed into something. She called it something. I don't remember. As I skim back through my 46 pages of notes here. Trying to remember.
As you send this message out to Alalim, a minute passes. Another minute passes.
Okay, so the conversation continues.
And then you hear in your voice, in Arcadian, I know you, Ben. Find me in the New Empire.
There's a like
Little more specific.
I will immediately cast it again, burning my last spell slot of any fucking consequence. And the burning my last 4th level spell slot. Y'all untapped. And kind of, I don't. We haven't discussed like what formalities of the Empire were, but basically like a formal, as you will it. And that's that.
You don't get an answer.
And you all see Ben's eyes go wide, and he like freezes in place, and he smiles. He is alive.
Oh, he's alive.
Yeah, none of y'all are not aware of any of that just occurred.
Yep.
The Magister, who Larissa mentioned, he's alive. An Arcadian Magister alive in New Arcadia? And there's an excited like looking at Killian for the first time, and then realizing he just looked at Killian, and he immediately looks away. Going there after the island, then maybe if you still should I ask Tannen if he can help? Or no?
I think if you have a means of honoring his wishes, should he not want to do this thing, then there is no harm in asking.
If you are hesitant, Ben, I believe for the time being our path is set pretty clear before us.
The only other way I can get to and from the Dreamlands that I know of is an artifact. He can travel freely, where we cannot. It is a very beautiful place in its own way. If you ever stumble across a key made of silver, please tell me.
Very well.
Even if our path is more set now, if Tannen could learn more while we go forward, this would be helpful, yes?
I think so. And he looks towards Killian again.
You. I'm happy to take you all to New Arcadia and find this Magister. If it means that it'll help us get closer to Larissa. What happened?
Tannen comes over and sits down in front of Killian.
What do you want, little one?
And then wanders back over in front of Ben. And with a very, very heavy sigh, Ben starts performing the ritual backwards.
Okay. Over the course of 10 minutes, you start seeing the energies surround Tannen as the invisible link between Tannen and Ben is severed. In that moment, you see within Tannen's eyes an intelligence spring up that wasn't there before. And much like when you thump a cat on the nose, all of a sudden it shakes its head. And this is a big Savannan cat. Shakes its head and kind of looks down, and these eyes blink and perk up. And in all of your minds, you hear, stupid boy.
It is out loud. It is good to see you again, my friend.
You know, you couldn't let a man rest, could you?
I am sorry. I need your help. And Ben is in tears right now.
He says, I know all of you. You do not know me. I like this one. And you see a paw come up and point in a cat way towards Oliver.
I wasn't sure what to expect, but I feel like this fits. Nice to meet you.
Then I know it's confusing, but just go with it.
To explain to you all, Tannen here, Lord of Cats, is my longest and oldest friend.
I gave up 8 lives for this man.
Do I bow?
6. The other 2 were your fault. Okay.
8 lives for this man.
And
And so tell me, what am I risking my last one for?
do you remember Ahab? I know you are, when you are bonded, it is different, but I know you know everything that happens. But do you remember Ahab?
I do. And that's pompous ass Arcanus. That is
Uh,
familiar.
I mean, he is like way down on the list, but he is on the list. I don't know how to find Larissa.
You see this like little bit of sadness in his eyes. I think I know what you're getting at.
And there's a moment of like as Ben is tearing, um, there's like almost a little bit of a sympathetic emotional bond still, and I know it is a lot to ask, and I have no right to do so.
It's fine. I'll be gone for a while,
I know,
but I'll be back.
and I will seek no other. You know this.
You better not.
No.
I
Why
am
would I
not.
leave some little face spirit to be tortured by you forever?
Now, I don't know if I'll find her. This is a big risk.
I know. A word, information, direction, anything. Uh, or a doorway where I can go and can look.
If
We are bound here, and we cannot leave. We cannot.
I can you describe the creature that took her?
And I, kind of leaning into the telepathy a little bit, and with prestidigitation, create a small uh, replica that looks kind of like a Bianchi, but then in your mind clears and sees all the detail that isn't there. And it was one of these. I was too worried for you, so I sent you away before they came. Oh, you said the one that took Larissa. I'm sorry. It's been a day. I didn't get a good look. Can you?
By the way, all of you are hearing this.
Right.
Yeah.
Um,
So I'll dismiss the prestidigitated item and create another little miniature statue that is as close to a representation of the Shambler as I can come up with, but I was not close or super involved. And I don't know what happened, so
It is
I-
difficult to explain what it looked like necessarily, but it seemed to shift out of reality as it held her. Like it was not entirely present,
I
if
can't.
that helps.
We are dealing with creatures from the dark
see-
side of the tapestry.
You see a kind of like a moment of recognition in the cat's face. It is, you describe a creature between planes. Rare, but they do exist.
If you wish to stay and rest, I will not blame you.
No, I cared for her as well. She smelled sweet.
He was kinder to us than many for a very long time.
You see a moment of pondering. I will do this, but I will be careful. I do not know how long I will be gone.
I know. And I will search here and
He kind of walks up and starts rubbing against your leg.
Ben, as he's seated there, just starts petting him and kind of pulls him into a hug.
When you let go of this big Savannah cat, and he sits there and he looks around at, the forest and everything. You remember when I traveled with you back to the Empire for the first time? It was beautiful. It's impressive. If this is your world now, and your empire is gone, and you are the last of the Magisters,
Don't think so.
last of the
Yeah.
Magisters. Then he looks you dead in the eyes. He says, "Ben, start acting like it."
Oh!
Done got told by the
I'm just
cat.
gonna go hide in the closet.
That was along the lines of something I wanted to say.
And the same reaction that I gave Abba Halim, that's in Arcadian, as you will it.
And he stretches and does the cat yawn. And he says, "Then off I'll go. I'll be back."
Before you do, and I'll take a ruby that I've been carrying around with me for just this occasion and flip it over towards him as I give him Ruby of the War Mage, just in case he needs it.
And he picked it up with his mouth and sets it at his feet. He says, "Now I will be off." And he picks the ruby up with his mouth and bows his head. And as he walks away, you see him walk behind a tree, but he does not come out the other side.
Killian walks behind the tree.
He
Doesn't see him.
He's
He's
not
behind the
shrugs.
tree.
What are you doing, cat? Okay.
Safe travels to him.
So could he talk the entire time?
There's a smirk. Kind of. But not like that. He is smarter than all of us, I promise you.
Yeah, and I like him better than you too.
No response. So, rest then?
I think we could all use a bit.
Ben
Cast
wipes
Guardian of Faith as the light begins to hover out, go out the sides of the hut, coalesce over it into the shape of an emblazoned shield, just glowing in the night.
Okay. As you guys bed down the rest, who's going to be on watch?
All-time quarterback.
Yeah, I was gonna say it.
I was gonna say my perception is trash.
Hearth kind of covers that of his own, like automatically, I believe, as we have learned.
This is Heartbreak, unassigned Tannen.
Dude.
Removed
Yeah.
from map.
Oof.
Fuck.
The hits just keep on coming. But that's super cool. Like,
Although the Tannen's Adventures in the Dreamland one shot,
right? How exciting is that?
writing notes right here.
Before we bed down, there's a big deep breath, almost like stealing himself. And Ben looks at Killian. Really for the first time. I am sorry.
For what, Ben?
That we went there.
Why weren't we there, Ben? What happened?
As I was trying to save you. And in a second of indecision, I panicked. I saw you get hit again in a near mortal blow. And I was afraid to lose you. And I forgot about everything else.
I understand wanting to save people. I understand you taking the action that you did, but Ben, emotions affect magic. That's one of the first things I learned, and I know that you know that. I grew up learning about ancient Arcadia, the Magisters, you. And for a long time now, I was looking to you as a mentor, and I'm starting to see that I have more control over my magic than you do. Magic is your thing, Ben. You've made that very clear to all of us. Why can you not control it?
You grew up learning about the myths of the world I lived in. And you learned today and yesterday and the day before that not all myths are real. I have spent the last few days having my entire life ripped out from under me. I will not ask your forgiveness for that. Everything I knew, everything I loved and believed has just been ripped away. The only thing I ask of that is your understanding and patience. However, and there's almost a bit of anger there. in his face and his voice and his inflection. I hope that as I come to grips with the reality I have discovered, you can find enough in the bond we share to learn to trust me again. Because I do not expect it now. But perhaps one day.
I want to trust you, Ben. But you gotta you gotta get control of yourself. History's not black and white. Your empire did some terrible things, but also did some magnificent things. Things that we, thousands of years in the future, have failed to recreate. Who you are hasn't changed because of learning this information about your civilization. I understand being upset, but you're letting your magic get away from you. It's always been a part of you.
I am not a warrior. I am a scholar, an explorer.
Maybe it's time for that to change too.
It is a sad day when a man of peace has to go to war. But for any of you, and for her, and he gestures to where Tannen disappeared, and especially for him, I will rip apart the heavens and destroy the earth if I have to.
Well, let's save that as a contingency plan.
I mean, I don't. It's not my first.
Might have been what got Arcadia in its position in the first place.
Like as Ben kind of finishes up his statement about like a sad day of when a man of peace has to go to war, Oliver would have kind of given a sigh and looked down at the gauntlets that he wears. War is not a thing that many choose. This is not what I thought I would be doing either. But we go where we are called, and we do what we must. Especially to protect those that we love. Oliver will pack his own pipe and just kind of be contemplative the rest of the night.
How perceptive, like passively, is Oliver?
15 on passive.
When you say those we love, Ben looks to where Tannen disappeared. I will take first watch.
as Oliver smokes his pipe and saw where Ben looked off to, the kind of like not necessarily like intending it, it just kind of happens. The smoke from the pipe drifts off into like a savanna cat. It flits off.
Heavy.
So, okay. For the sake of brevity, you have Hearth and you. So roll your perception with advantage because Hearth is there.
And I will
This is
be
where my
right
natural
back.
20 will come back and bite me in the ass. Not bad, actually. Dirty 20 this time. 15 plus 5.
Through the course of the night, you notice the shadows moving, as you guys have noticed several times sleeping within this dome on this island. Not as active, a little less, but they're still moving. Throughout the night, you don't see any danger.
And I will wake up Oliver for the next watch. And Hearth, as you're aware of what is going on, then reaches for Killian to wake him up, and second guesses himself and reaches for Oliver.
So,
Would you like me to roll for the two of us?
yes.
Phil?
Go ahead, because we're sans
Yeah.
Oliver.
It's a 17.
Same thing. You don't see anything. There's no immediate danger. Over the course of the night, Killian, your watch, you don't see anything as well. Waking the next morning, to the bright sun peeking through the cracks within the trees and everything, storm long gone. You awake with one less person at your campsite. As you head further towards Kingsport through the forest, who is helming the survival check-in to get there, to stay on the path, and who is helping, if someone chooses to help?
I think Oliver will probably take the lead on it, like having
I'll-
traversed through the forest before.
I will aid Oliver.
Okay, roll me that. Roll your survival check and tell me if you get above a 10. Hearth.
That is a 26.
Okay, so Oliver, you can roll with advantage.
Total of an 18.
Okay. Through the course of traveling through this forest, you are able to make pretty good headway. You don't encounter any dangers. A full day passes. You rest again. Unless anybody wants to do anything particularly important during this rest.
Just one thing. I would like to send 2 spending spells. One to Father Waters to check in, let him know we're on our way back. And unfortunately, we are down a member. And the other to the intelligent Black Kobold of the group to ask them where they are currently set up.
From Father Waters, you get back. Sad to say that you have to fill me in when you get here. But the people here are acting very strange. I will meet you at your inn.
And I'd give him an estimation of how far off we are.
And Black Cobalt, you hear, "Who's this? Hello?"
I would have given my name. The guy in the red turban, you know.
How do you reply? What? Where are we?
Does this
I
go
don't-
on?
Okay.
Big heavy sigh. Big heavy sigh.
You said a sending spell to a kobold. What'd you ask for?
This reminds me of Zoom calls. No, you're muted. We can't hear you.
I don't know, Mom. Take your thumb off the Oh, God.
Take your effing thumb off the camera.
Huh. So, other than brief bits of conversation throughout the journey, Ben is still fairly quiet, but not shut down like he was.
Unless anybody else needs anything to do that night, you don't encounter anything.
Oliver would have just been continuing to check in that the pseudo dragon is still following around.
He doesn't enter your camp, but he stays within eyesight.
Okay.
Eventually, towards the tail end of the second day, you find yourself coming to the edge of Kingsport proper.
Have we come across the teepee?
You come across the remnants of the God's Circle with no teepee.
Okay.
So, coming upon Kingsport proper, entering into the town, you do know that the temple is on the other side of the town. And your inn is in towards the rise. As you enter town, everything appears normal. You don't see many people on the street, but you do see one lady kneeling, picking up pieces of bread and stuff from where she has dropped her basket, a distance off, and she's putting it back into the basket.
Okay.
As you come closer, she stands lifting her basket and turns and looks at you guys, and she has a big grin on her face from a distance away and smiles, waves. And she continues to cross the road as you guys get closer, and as she gets to the edge of the road, you see her stop in place. And the basket drops from her hand. And she looks up and just starts screaming. This deep, depressive, sad scream. Bill can't do it because his mic will cut off. And she kneels down. She picks up the basket. She starts putting everything back into the basket. She turns around, looks at you guys, waves. He continues walking. Yep.
Fuck. I'm gonna reach out mentally and make a connection with her, but not say anything. Just to see if there's any feedback or resistance.
Roll me an intelligence saving throw.
Woof. Okay.
I'm sure this isn't anything to worry about.
This is fine. Where's my camera?
It's a nat 20 or a 1?
That's a nat 20.
It's fine. It's fine.
The only thing that you don't take any psychic damage.
I have no freaking clue where my camera is right now.
You're good, man.
You have no, you don't take any psychic damage, but the only thing that I can relate to this is when you have microphone feedback.
Okay.
Except it's an emotional feedback of just you are assaulted, and with your natural 20 you're able to shove it before it does any damage, of just pain and loss and confusion.
So Ben staggers briefly, um, and just in marching order, reaches out and grabs the next person as he like staggers. They are they are not okay.
You think?
And I will explain.
Was it the scream that gave it away, or
No, it was the. I stole my wife's phone. I'm taking a picture of that. All right. Thank you. It was the feedback. I touched her mind like I do when I speak with people, and she is caught in a loop of emotion, a glass case, one might say, and it's it is just agony. Let's get to the inn. Find Father Waters.
As you go further into town, you start noticing everything appears normal on the surface, but as you continue to watch these people, things aren't fine. You see an old sailor sitting on one of the many benches near the shops of the Rise, tying knots in a rope, and he's tying it around his arm, and he's tying it way too tight to where you see the arms starting to turn purple. And then he realizes what he's doing, and he unwraps it. And then he starts doing it again, and you notice rope burns and scarring on his arm where he's done this over and over and over repeatedly.
This is awful.
Hey, you need some help with that?
And he looks out of a haze. He goes, "Oh no, no, no! I'm fine. I'm fine. I just..." And he starts unwrapping the rope. He says, "All's good. Nothing to worry about." And you just, as he says that, you see this look on his face of his eyes are bright as someone is. His face is screaming, "Help me!" But his voice is very calm as he continues tying the knot.
What spells do I have today? I do. Um, there's a moment where Ben's hand rotates a little bit as if he's tying a knot in a rope. He says, "You do it like this, right?" And as he looks towards my hands and my face, I'm going to exert myself, basically, psychically over him and shut down his non-autonomic functions and cast sleep.
Okay. How many hit dice worth of sleep did you have?
5d8.
Okay. Roll 5d8 just real quick.
I'm not a paladin, so I don't have a whole lot of d8 pulled out. 4, 13, oh, nice, 20, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33 total.
Okay. He falls asleep. None of you are under 33 hit points, or the hit points remaining. So you do hear in the building behind him a couple of thud, 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 thud.
I can't do that for everyone, but at least he will not suffer for the next few minutes.
I think perhaps we find Father Waters soon. He said the inn, yes?
Yes.
Let us return to the bells then.
We should not tarry. Let us hurry.
So as you come around the rise, you do come up to the bells, seeing several other people in emotional distress. None as self-harming as the old sailor. Coming into the bells, you open the door, you see broken glass on the floor with Father Waters kneeling, picking it up and putting it into a bucket. And you see the proprietor of the Seven Bells, Annette, sitting behind the bar, tending to the books as you've seen her before. As she looks up with a big smile on her face, you see mascara has run from her eyes down her cheeks as she continues to smile. She says, "Hello, welcome back," as tears just continue to flow down her face. She says, "I see
to
you're
see you
missing
again."
one."
Oh, I don't like this, guys.
I, you know,
Yes, we
something,
will be meeting up with her later.
something I was never told to say to a woman, but you look kind of tired. And I reassert sleep on her.
Yeah, for the sake of, I'm just gonna give GM magic here. I'm not gonna have you put Father Waters to sleep.
Oh, I figured as a spellcaster, he probably is doing all right hit point wise.
So, Father Waters stands up and picking up the glass bottle. Well, it's good to see you, gentlemen, again. Where is the girl?
We will be meeting up with her later.
I take it you've seen the predicament of the town on your way in.
A bit.
We have.
What happened?
And we go
My
into
theory is, my theory is that we have weakened a point of. It's hard to describe. Whatever has been inhabiting this island, I believe we have weakened one point of it. It may explain the difficulty whatever force is washing over the island is having, trying to assert control over the minds of the populace.
He nods his head as he picks up the bucket filled with glass. Annette's not handling it very well. So
Where is Cletus?
That's my next
Cletus
question.
is Cletus is at the temple. He is faring better than these people.
Since you cleared his mind, I was wondering if he was still sound.
Yeah.
And you seem to be fine as well.
Yes, thanks to you. But I don't think we have the resources to clear everyone in this town.
And I cannot put everyone to sleep.
Whatever balance was put into place is new balance. It seems to be upset now.
What can be causing something on this scale? I don't know how 4 or 5 people solve something like this. The entire town's like this?
From what I've seen, yes. The
What's
island, I don't know. I have not been to Sorrowbend.
What's the population of Kingsport?
Oh, honestly, since my fog has been lifted, I don't know. I don't even know the passage of time here. Things seem different. I've tried to research in the Sailors Guild's archives, but they stopped some time ago. Someone stopped keeping records.
Did you learn anything of the cult?
Yes, they are. The Devouts seem to be run by the Marsh family. The one Marsh that survived the shipwreck many years ago that brought back stories of this creature below the waves that saved his life. It was soon after that the accounts in the archive went blank.
Up to you, my friends.
Father Waters.
Do we focus on that, or do we go further north and focus on those problems?
I think we pay these marshes a visit. If they have some knowledge of what is happening here, I think we help what we can here first, if we can.
The hag. She's tied to this.
The hag is merely a legend. They spoke of.
It's not a legend, there's a hag here. My uncle met her.
You would need to talk to someone. There's stories that midwives and people, locals, tell each other about summoning the hag and asking for favors. Different rituals, different practices, but it is late in the evening, and all of you look like you've been through the emotional ringer.
One question, Father Waters. We have been to Broken Gate. To your mind, what are the other major points of legend or lore on this island?
There's no ruins per se, other than Broken Gate, but there's talk of the hags, yes. Legend states there was a coven on this island that the populace asked for favors. Honestly, the natives of this island were here long before we were. We have kind of a truce with them. They would know more.
The Dust Eaters?
No, those are the weird ones that live in the monastery up in the mountains.
The natives live in the northeast, then?
Yes. They keep to themselves above the marshes, the marshlands up to the east. The Dust Eaters, the monks, they I've spoken with a few. They're intelligent. They're peaceful. Just their practices upset the humors of the town. They find them odd and macabre.
Are these people different from the bear tribe? Or is
He
that
looks
who you
confused.
speak?
The bear tribe, they're very rare.
We met a few.
Yes, they're a small tribe. From the western north of the island. They keep to themselves. They mainly have dealings with the giants up in the mountains and dealings with the ice farmers.
But
same
this is
mountain.
not the same people that you mention as the natives, or it is?
They are not. They are. It is rumored there's what the bear tribe is what's left from the first failed colony here.
I see.
And when you say the ice farmers in the mountains, is this the same mountain where the monastery is?
Yes, they have a peaceful dealing. They trade. You will actually see some of the dust monks travel with the ice farmers when they come down delivering ice to the fishermen. They come to trade and to deal with the inhabitants of Kingsport for provisions they can't provide themselves up in the monastery.
Father Waters, is there any location to the northeast in the marshes that would be of some interest or significance?
He seems to be really racking his mind. Not that I know of. I've never traveled up there myself.
Have you spoken with the Triton who works by the docks, Phalor, is she well?
Baylor's never. Now that I remember it, I don't think she was ever a victim of this fog or this malaise. But if you were to ask about the hag, she would be the one to ask.
That is what I was wondering.
So we want to invest. We want to help the town before we do anything else, right? We want to investigate the hag and then maybe talk to these marsh people.
He looked very confused. He says, "It sounds like you've done a lot of traveling."
And we have far more to go ahead of us, Father Waters.
And you've met a lot of people on this island.
Enough worth caring about, yes.
I will return to the archive in the morning. I still have a feeling there's something there. Something I'm not finding, something I'm missing.
Would you like assistance?
If it comes to that, yes, I will contact you in the morning.
Additionally, if you hear of a trio of kobolds in a tent, please let us know.
I have seen them.
They, despite their appearances, are somewhat useful.
When I went out to my morning prayers, they were desecrating what remains of the God Circle. I politely asked them to move.
Do you know where they went?
I believe they may be setting up behind my temple.
I mean, yeah.
Well, we should have a visit to them as well, because I think Piccolo can help us.
All of that can wait until the morning. Get some rest. It is almost nightfall, and with as strange as everything is happening, I would not want to be out at night for very long.
You do know where to find these marshes, yes?
They have an estate.
Well, at least we will not have to hunt too hard. That seems pretty straightforward.
I agree.
Well, on that note, Annette has been crying herself to sleep, so she will be fine.
Well, I put her to sleep just a moment ago. I think that will last for a while. She looks exhausted, so it will probably hold for a good time.
I think everyone is. They seem to be resting. It's the waking hours during the day. They're very confused. There's just so many to deal with. I will return to my temple and check in on Cletus, and tomorrow I will go into the archive again.
Perhaps first thing in the morning, and Killian looks to his companion, or Killian, Jesus, Ben looks to his companions, and
As
perhaps-
Ben's dissociating.
Yes. Continues disassociating. Perhaps it's best that we check in with you in the morning at the temple. I think visiting these kobolds will be wise. And then for us,
If you say so.
it is not the kobolds that aid could provide aid, but what is in the tent.
And on that note, Father Waters bows and says, in the morning then.
In the morning.
And he exits the inn.
I
Did-
can only do this one more time, but I can create a holy water 2. I can create a circle in which we can create our dome where we will be safe from influence.
That would be good.
you mind rounding up some food?
I'll see what I can find, and I'll head downstairs. And he kind of looks back as he gets to the door. This Piccolo may be able to give us some answers, but these people need help soon. I do not wish to tarry long. If these marshes have answers or a
Piccolo.
connection to this, they need to be stopped.
Piccolo has been here. He knows much of the island. And Ben reaches into his bag that he carries and pulls out a book. The name of the book is Unforgiving Waters, Legends and Lore of the Sea of Teeth and Beyond by Piccolo the Wanderer. The Witches of Providence Island is the first chapter. And so that is what Ben will be reading tonight.
The hags are a concern. They are. But this creature in the deep that the devouts seem to worship, I think is the larger source.
The deep ones are here, and Piccolo is very interested in gifts of the mother and gifts of the father. And I believe they are all connected.
I do not disagree.
That's for now.
And then Oliver leaves to go round up some food, whatever he can find downstairs.
The larder's been ransacked. It looks like someone tore it apart, but you're able to scrounge up enough dried meat, foods, and breads, cheeses.
Can we put a net into her room and then lock the doors to the inn?
I was gonna say,
sure.
I was gonna say Oliver, like while he's down there, is gonna pick her up and take her to her bed.
You notice as you take her to her bed, her room is a combination of a history of nautical items and things throughout her life. You see various images of ships and paintings and other things. You see an oil lamp. Everything in this room, including the bed, has dust on it.
Interesting.
And as he sees that with the bed, he'll take a minute to like set her in a chair and then kind of dust off the bed, at least like the top layer, to clear it off so that she's got a more restful place to be.
Why bed dusty?
Yeah. How long?
It's
has it
all
been?
dusty. Yeah.
I'd like to spend 11 minutes to cast Detect Magic.
Detect magic?
Just in the inn, but like focused around her room.
Within the 30 feet, you don't detect any magic coming from her room, other than the normal magic on the magical items that you guys possess, which by this time you're used to it.
Anything in the inn at all if I just do like a quick circuit?
Are you gonna walk the entire inn in 10
Yeah.
minutes?
Yeah, it's not that big. Is it?
It's pretty big, but as you near your room, you do sense magic inside your room before you open the door.
What's the aura?
You have to be closer to it.
Okay,
You have to be able to visually see it.
Okay, I'll go in, that's fine.
As you go in, you notice as you open the door to your room, being familiar with this room, you see a fire in the hearth.
Oh god, Hearth!
Just the everybody else.
And you are hit with the smell of sugar cookies. as
Maybe.
in the common comfortable area of the room where this chair set and the one sofa Larissa used to sleep on, there on the table sets a steaming pot of tea with a plate of cookies, and you see an old lady sitting in one of the chairs, smiling at you as you walk into the room. You know how to keep a lady waiting.
Did the rest of us kind of like?
Nope, this is just Killian.
Okay.
Uh, apologize. Have we met?
In a way.
Uh, 1 second, Ben.
You hear your name shouted from the end, from
Uh,
the back.
Can we all hear this?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll call everybody.
go running up.
Chung, 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 chung.
Stumble in. Smell the cookies. I thought you were looking for magic. Who's this?
This is magic.
Oh. It is a pleasure to meet you, wise one.
Come have a seat. I believe we need to talk.
What did they call you? Susie?
Yes, you can call me Miss Susie.
Gentlemen, Miss Susie, the Hag of Kingsport.
She kind of bows her head a little bit.
So, you met my uncle?
Your blood did smell familiar.
That's not creepy.
Right.
I have been watching you for some time.
You don't happen to have someone contracted to you, do you?
Oh no, he was very interesting. But no, he is not mine.
Well, what can
Do
you tell us about him?
know who's he is?
I can't say. I do not know. And at that moment, you hear a creak as a window cracks open to your room and a fluttering of wings as the pseudo dragon lands on her chair and kind of nuzzles next to her.
Oh, this bitch! God.
And here I thought we were friends. Oliver just staring at the dragon.
And
I
she,
do believe I threatened to kill him, so he is not
She-
my friend.
she reaches up and pets him and says, he has a mind of his own, but I borrow his vision from time. He does like you.
Hmm.
All of you have been busy.
Ben's eyes flash as his hand is in his pocket, holding a pearl, and he casts, using a spell slot, Detect Magic.
Hmm.
Is the kettle magical?
No,
I'd like to know that information as well.
It is not.
no.
Okay. So I assume she is radiating with some sort of glamour. or
Yes.
This is just an assumption.
You do sense magic all around you. It's detect magic is not a where all be all. It
Correct.
just really detects the magic, and even
It gives
if
us it gives us the magical aura. It tells us if it's like illusion.
it illusionary. If it
Okay.
was, there is illusion in this room, but Hag's magic is weird.
Yeah. I assume if we accept your hospitality, you will not eat us in our sleep? Or some such?
He laughs. Uh, I tried, if you remember. Your trauma and your sorrow were delicious and could not pass up. You were strange, pointing to Ben. I could not delve too deep. The, sad to say, devil girl that was with you before, I did see what happened. Very, very sad. But the emotions afterwards were a delight, I have to say. Such anger, such...
Ben will walk over and pour himself a cup of tea.
Are you familiar with my kind?
Somewhat. Not too
Uh,
deeply.
We we enjoy emotion. We enjoy the aspect of it, and with its return, I've been incredibly happy. Um, it took me not very long to piece together what's happening and what your group has been doing, and I just want to say I'm for it, and I would like to help.
What I
But
do know of your kind is that is not free.
you are correct.
As Oliver kind of like finally takes a seat around all of this, readjusting the sword strapped to his back as he sits down and just kind of like pulls it to the side so that he can actually sit. If you offer help, we'd like to know who it is and exactly what it is that we would be dealing with. And as his hand is on the sword, he will use the sword to cast a spell magic, targeting the illusory.
Now that cast at level 1.
I'm expecting to have to roll, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it casts at the base level, which the spell magic is a 3rd level spell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, well, that's what I meant by level 1. It casts at like just the standard level of the spell.
Yeah.
So give me a roll.
God bless these rolls tonight. That's a 3 on the die, so 6 total. I've rolled
I
sub
told him.
5 so many times tonight.
I
You
have
see-
stolen the whole
Today,
table.
whatever it is.
What were you saying, Gabe?
I have stolen the whole table's luck today.
So
Whether
This
it does anything or not,
wave.
like Oliver still like attempts that.
for a second you do see this ripple, just this invisible ripple come from Oliver as he attempts to dispel this illusion. It doesn't dispel it, but you see a smile creep across her face. If you wish to see me for as I am, it's not very pleasant, but I can show you.
To be honest, I'm fine.
Yes.
When you, and she looks you dead in the eyes, my friend from another realm.
Me?
No, Oliver.
Gotcha.
Say that again?
She looks at you. She says, to answer your question, my friend from another realm.
She says this regarding me?
Yes. I would like to know who do you speak of that you wish to know.
I wish to know who it is we are dealing with. I do not like surprises and trickery.
In regards, you have to be more specific. Say his name. What is he called?
player me is confused right now. If this is
So
supposed to be
what is-
something that is apparent, I'm not tracking.
What-
I
So
think-
Jacob, clarify. What are you asking? What you're referring to her, right?
I'm referring to her. She's
Oh.
the one that just offered to help. So Oliver is trying to get a better bead on what
To
exactly
clarify,
it is that we're dealing with. Like, he understands this is a hag, yes, but like Oliver's not dealt with a hag before. He's trying to get a grasp on what.
to clarify, it is not I who concerns you. It is not I who troubles you. It is he. The eyes in the deep.
This is what I thought, yes.
Information comes at a price, but this I will tell you for free. His name is Daimok.
Hags don't give anything away for free. He's
Well,
a problem for you.
she smiles. He's been a problem for me for a while. He has taken away that which I feed on.
He has suppressed the emotions of the city, and therefore she has no sustenance.
And worst of all, he broke. And with anger, he broke my coven.
Ah,
Yeah, there were 3. Remember?
revenge.
Now this offer makes more sense.
So, what you wish is you wish to end the eyes in the deep, correct?
No, we want our friend back. But what you wish is for us to end the eyes of the deep. This is something that we're willing to discuss.
Your friend getting back relies on you getting off this island. Correct?
It would seem so.
You're not getting off this island till he is gone.
That tracks.
It is clear that he hunts us at this point.
You have made him mad. You have killed 2 of his anchors.
Ooh.
2.
The first was the Oni?
There were 4 shadows over Providence that kept the gate open. He bound the doorway to these creatures of strength and power. 4 shadows. The one that flies, the one that crawls, the one that feeds, and the one that never dies. You have killed the one that feeds, and you have killed the one that never dies. You have partially closed the door. For this, he is not happy.
That much is clear.
The only.
Yes.
What do you ask for payment?
My payment is simple. I had a coven. For those of you that know of my kind, it requires 3 to be powerful. 2 will fight over the power, while a 3rd maintains balance. I want my sister dead.
I don't
So
understand
you-
why we need to be paying you at all. We're taking care of a problem for you. That seems payment enough.
Because if you do this for me, I will tell you where he is and where he hides.
Is your sister one of the anchors?
No. But I know where the other 2 are.
Is
And I
there
know
a need to find this Daimok himself? Or
if you wish
just
to,
to destroy the anchors?
he feeds upon the energies released by the open gateway to the Shadowfell. It makes him incredibly strong. He killed my salt sister and broke our covenant. For you see, he is a creature far older than this world. He was a creature that existed, that worshipped beings before this world was created from the chaos of the void. And when his gods were banished from this realm, he did not retreat back to his watery plane, no. He traveled the space between stars and become something darker and twisted. And now he's bound himself to the Shadow Gate, and these life forces feed him from the Shadowfell. If you wish to fight this on your own, you will die. But I know how to weaken him. And all I ask for you to do is take a life in return.
Two sisters to fight over it and one to maintain the balance. I wonder which was the one that he killed.
He has had millennia to become brilliant, and he was smart enough to know which one to kill. So that is my deal. You kill my sister, bring me her totem. I will tell you where the other two shadows lie. And until then, I promise you, you will not leave this island.
We're gonna need more information than that.
I
You're
will
gonna need
give.
to tell us what you know about what's happening to the people in the town and how we can help them.
I don't see how any of you have not pieced it together yet.
Town is held sway by this Daimok. He suppressed their emotions and created a cult that worshipped him. And with that, he rules over these lands and draws power and sustenance from it, expanding his worship and his power base. We have destroyed half of the anchors holding him open, and so now these people are beginning to see the veil that they are held under, and it is causing them pain. And the only way to finish it is to lift the veil.
He starts laughing. You have part of it. Think. Do you really think ships are coming back in a few days?
I do not.
Do you really think the legend of this city, of this town, with no warriors and no military and no army, fought back a revolution against the Church Eternal to keep them away?
There's an eyebrow arch.
Daimok has made dealings in this world.
Where is your connection to the church, Killy?
How does Beckett fit into all of this?
When we complete this task, the church will be able to assume control of this island.
He just starts cackling. My dear sweet automata from another time, you do not understand. They already control this island.
This island is an experiment or a battery.
Is the church what brought Daimok here?
No. Dimok has made inroads, deals within the land that he's in for his own protection.
I wonder if the sanatorium is located here.
That was enjoyable. That was one of the few places of sustenance I had left before you burned it.
Well, there was not much left alive there by the time we left anyway.
No. But I was close. That's where we first met.
Eyes of gold?
No. That one is weird. I stayed away from her.
So the kitchen staff, yes?
Yes, they enjoyed my cooking.
Hmm.
Sad to say, the young man and young girl that traveled with me to the lighthouse had to meet unfortunate ends.
We will do it. You hold all the cards, we don't have a choice. And you knew that before you came.
This is
Otherwise
true,
Otherwise, you would not have shown yourself.
but we will make a deal. I believe that all of you are tired and emotionally distraught. I will visit you in the morning. And I'll let you sleep on it.
Will you, though?
I will. You have that, my promise. There is plenty enough emotional distress within this town now for me to feed and grow fat. And on that note, we will call this episode.
God. Fuck. I can't keep spending mornings like this, guys. This is ridiculous. This is too much for this early in the day.
Breakfast and Dragons sounds like such a pleasant experience.
Right?
And then you realize Bill's the GM.
And we have such a cute little logo too.
Yeah.
You know, what we haven't let anybody know is that the dragons is actually spelled Draggins.
So on that note, we do have a hard cutoff time because one of our friends has to make a long trip. So we will go right into accolades. Let's get rolling.
9
was-
for me.
Why am I reaching for a die? I don't roll.
That is a nat 1, so I'll be going last.
7.
All right. 7.
4.
4. Hey,
Wow.
Gabriel, you go first.
Oh man, so much.
Good thing we didn't have a battle of wills with the hag there.
Right?
These are going to be the rolls.
Much stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly, my accolade is going to go for a moment of brevity. When Killian walked around the tree to see where Tannen went. This episode is so heavy and obviously super full of emotion, and that shit-eating grin that gave me was just the right thing in the moment. And it was wonderful roleplay. And so that is my accolade, is for Killian looking to see where Tannen went.
I do not know how to piece a single one moment out of everything that unfurled out of all of this around the RP of the aftermath. I mean, literally everyone was astounding. So rather than try and break up any of that, Bill, I'm going to give mine to you because coming back into the town and the level of fucking weird and creepy
I didn't like it.
that is going on, I think is a really cool, like, further catalyst of, like, refusing the group into, like, there's still major shit going on besides your friend being gone. And, like, people are suffering from it. Here's a thing. Go forward.
Watch
And like, it was amazing in, like, the description and what was there, but it also, like, I feel like it has such a recohesive effect for the party going forward to see that beyond what they have already dealt with. I just thought it was great.
Heavily inspired by an old George A. Romero movie called The Crazies.
I thought it was great.
All right, so Derek.
Mine's gonna go to Gabe. Great scene partner today, man. I enjoyed crushing your character's soul.
Dude.
No, it was you did great, man. Very, very good scene partner today.
Thank you very much.
All right, Brandon.
And I'm going to give mine to Derek. Someone seconds that. So I'm going to give mine to Derek because I really enjoyed seeing you go a place with Killian that I haven't seen you go before. And to mine the nuggets of experience, emotion, truth, and character all kind of wrapped up in really hitting this idea of almost like having difficulty with being in a party and having difficulty trying to figure out that, or trying to reconcile that other people have choices, you know. But we're a party, we're a group, like we, you know, it really brought into a level of question. Yeah, well, what do we ask of each other in a party? What do we, you know, what do we ask of others? What do we ask of ourselves? What do, anyway, it's just a lot and brought up a lot, and it was cool to see Killian deal with that. Up until now, he's been kind of a cool-headed academic, and it's fun to see more exploration.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
With us coming down to the wire, my accolades as all of you. I'd like to go through and say all of you did great, but I don't have the time for that.
We're good, man. I'm not in a rush.
Okay, well,
Inflate our egos a little bit here.
Yeah.
We just had a rough session.
so with Oliver, the way you tried to emotionally invest, and with the loss of Larissa, and tried to keep things going was amazing. That with the dragon was really good. I kind of like that. Oliver and Hearth, like, you guys. Oliver hits me as kind of almost, if he wasn't a barbarian, he was almost be a paladin, like, to me, like how he's very much like, you know, I want to do what's good for this island, I want to do what's good for the people, and I want to find my friend. Hearth, you trying to play the role of the peacekeeper, you trying to calm emotions, was amazing. Killian, your anger towards what Ben did, and just your general of being over it with his emotional state was great. Ben, you're the tragic moment of your, you know, ever since you come to the real world has been, or the material plane has been great. I've been waiting with Tannen in my back pocket if that ever came out. Like, I had an idea for the character, and like very much being the, you know, what the fuck are you doing moment with Tannen was awesome. So I'm actually going to give the inspiration point to Ben today. So, and that was actually a very hard choice for me to do.
Dude, crushed me.
So that was really awesome, guys. And thank you very much for allowing me to emotionally scar you every Saturday morning.
Heavy stuff today. Heavy stuff all around.
But good.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So, those of you that are still watching and those of you that are recovering, tune in Tuesday the 15th at 9 p.m. EST?
7 p.m. Eastern Standard
Yes.
Time.
7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Shooting to Crit. Sorry, I am in another time zone and I do get them mixed up. So, the 15th for Shooting to Crit at 7 p.m. Followed by the next week at the 22nd for the next episode of Thrain at 7 p.m. EST. And following the next episode here, the 26th, for the next episode of Breakfast and Dragons in the dark world of Straterra, you will be here at 9 a.m. EST. So, thank you very much for joining us today. And as we like to say here at Forever DMs, kindness is a free action. Please, during this month of Pride, be kind to those around you and practice your free actions.
Thanks for joining us, everybody, today. Take care.